The latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. You've heard advertisements last couple of weeks for this golf outing that is up at Merit Club in Libertyville this coming Monday, August 18th, 12:30 shotgun. Lunch before, dinner after. Anyway, it's for an organization that I got involved with because my friend Pat Livney, who is the founder of the organization, is a sufferer of this disease called CMT, which affects like 1 in 2,500 people. And I really didn't know anything about it until I became friends with Pat. And he really opened my eyes to it about the prevalence of it. It doesn't have the profile that other neurological disorders like MS have, and it's different, but just to provide some sort of comparison contrast to diseases that are more familiar to people. And so I'm co-chairing this golf outing on Monday, and I thought it's a good opportunity not only to pitch the golf outing, but also for people to learn a little bit more about this affliction. You probably know somebody that has exposure to it if someone immediately in a friend or a family member doesn't have it. It's amazing, actually, the number of people that I've run into now, just as your circle widens, that are connected to this disease in some material way. And so for more on it, please be joined by Pat Livney. Cure CMT is the organization, cure-cmt.org. And again, the golf outing is at the Scenic Merit Club in Libertyville this Monday. Pat, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Dan. I appreciate it.
Well, so let's just get some baselines here in terms of what CMT is. I mentioned the prevalence, but provide some more color on that as well, and what the organization is attempting to do.
Sure. CMT, or Charcot-Marie tooth disease, named after 3 doctors back in the late 1800s. And that was when it was first described. Actually, in 1991, the first gene was proven to be causing the most prevalent type of CMT. It is a peripheral nerve disease. It's progressive. It's genetic, meaning it knows no boundaries between sex or demographics, etc. If you will, it's non-racist, Dan, to put it that way. It affects anyone and everyone if there's a mutation in your gene. And what it does, there's 2 types, 2 main types. One, if you picture a copper wire, where the copper is the nerve or the axon, and the plastic coating around that wire would be the myelin sheath, or a protective coating around your nerve. The most prevalent type of mutation affects the myelin sheath, disrupting signals to the neuron, slowing down signals, and really deteriorating eventually the axon. Why is that important? Without nerves in your body, you have muscles, so your muscles atrophy. The other type is mutations that affect the axon directly or the nerve directly, and with the same consequence, loss of signals as well as atrophy. It affects the hands, the feet, the legs, the arms. It's the peripheral nerve disease.
And I mean, just your own experience. I mean, you're in your 60s now, but when this was first diagnosed when you were young, what was the prognosis for you?
Great question, because I actually think that prognosis fashioned my cynicism and also my search for a treatment or a first treatment here. At 16, I was very athletic on some state teams, et cetera, and I was diagnosed with a disease no one even heard of. I was told I'd be in a wheelchair by 30, Dan. I'll give them slack because they didn't even know at that time in 79, 80 that it was genetic. So from the standpoint of what they know about it versus then and now is incredible. The first gene, as I said, was proven to be in 1991. We're at 110 genes or mutations in those genes that cause the various types of CMT at this point. The reason, in my opinion, that people don't know too much about it is it's not considered a quote-unquote death disease. So the focus from the standpoint of how we look at our healthcare system surrounds a lot of the death diseases versus something that's progressive, although very debilitating.
Yeah, I mean, speak to the debilitation that afflicts some. I mean, you mentioned wheelchairs, so some people do end up in wheelchairs and are otherwise sort of unable to get around without assistance.
Yeah, from that standpoint, many end up in a wheelchair. The only thing that can help CMT patients at this point in time are bracing or surgery. There is no pill at this point in time. I often tell people MS has some cocktails that can lead to a quality of life that's normal and makes me jealous from one standpoint, but we have none of that in CMT.
And you said it's progressive too in terms of, in terms of when you say that, you mean deterioration. The deterioration is progressive, so it gets worse as it goes, untreated, as it were.
Correct. And whether you're diagnosed at 2 or in your mid-40s, depending on the type of CMT, the manifestation in CMT patients can differ and vary as well. So I'd say the prevalence is to me is probably understated. The prevalence study was done in the 70s in one country in Scandinavia. And I know families with 40 people that have CMT, some in wheelchairs, some not, but only 2 or 3 have been formally diagnosed. So it's very underreported. The most common inherited form of peripheral neuropathy.
And the interesting thing is you say it's genetic, and yet it afflicts people at various ages. We have a mutual friend who just recently got diagnosed with CMT, like in the last couple of years, and he's in his 70s.
Correct. That form of CMT can manifest in 3 different ways: early onset, middle onset, or late onset. Fortunately for him, it was late, although it is debilitating and affects obviously mobility, how you walk, exaggerated foot drop, etc.
Mm-hmm. And so Cure CMT, the organization you founded, is doing the bracing, addressing the bracing opportunity, and what else? I mean, I know there's interest in developing a treatment, if not a cure.
Yeah, listen, I'm a firm believer that because people get CMT, it's not because they've done something nefarious. They're not taking drugs. They're not over drinking. They're not doing something to harm themselves. It's genetic. And so the whole premise of Cure CMT is to make sure that everyone gets access to bracing, in severe cases, surgery, to improve their quality of life and mobility. Dan, if you can't move and you become sedentary, that's not healthy for anyone from that standpoint. And then the other thing is a passion of mine in trying to find or be part of the first treatment or cure for one type of CMT. And I've been on that search for the better part of 17 years now. And it's amazing what's happened in those years, from a white sheet of paper to over 30 pharma companies now involved in trying to find that first treatment. So we are investing in promising technologies, whether it's gene therapy that is being pursued or RNA treatments, et cetera. We are finding the biopharmas and the small companies with technologies that can accelerate that first treatment.
And I know this is sort of an imponderable, but how optimistic are you that there'll be a first treatment that could actually go to human trials, in your lifetime, let's say? You know what? It's
a great question, and I think we've broken that glass ceiling recently. We actually have 5 companies in various phases of human clinical trials, and dozens more in preclinical. So the focus has really come about in a big way over the last 5 years, I would say, Dan. And so I'm very hopeful. What type of CMT will be treated first? Then the odds are CMT1A, which is the myelin the overproduction of a gene that disrupts the myelin. But I'm not sure that that's the case at all. So from my standpoint, any CMT that'll be treated will lift the boats of all the other types of CMT.
Pat Livney is the founder of Cure CMT, cure-cmt.org. We got a golf outing that I'm co-chairing on Monday, August 18th at the Merit Club in Libertyville. A couple of foursomes still available. Great course, great time. It will be a great time and a great cause, as you heard, trying to find a treatment for people that have this often debilitating disease. It's not so debilitating for Pat because he's just too stubborn to be debilitated. So he'll be out playing as well. Cure-cmt.org/golf outing if you want to join us this coming Monday, the 18th at the Merit Club. Pat, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you for your time in focusing and putting a spotlight on Charcot-Marie Tooth disease, Dan.
All right, and Pat joined us on the Turnkey.Pro answer line.
Before you see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper. Hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Hi, I'm Ken Mariotti, owner of Woodland Windows and Doors, a third-generation family-owned business since 1969. We know you're bombarded by choices when shopping for new windows or doors, so we're inviting you to experience the Woodland difference. For decades, we have been transforming living spaces with Marvin